everything together now. It's a good thing I know how to edit all my audio, or all this crap will be going over the air too.
Oh, it don't matter, man. We talk aimlessly.
Well, the can't remember if it's the one I'm working on now or the one after it. It was actually pretty cool because you had somebody, I guess, try to pull over on you in a lane. I'm leaving it in there. I mean, everybody knows that we're talking on the phone, so why
Yeah,
can't I make it a studio deal, right?
Yeah, it ain't gotta be all polished and refined. And I mean, on top of that, I mean, I'm not saying everybody. Some people like it when somebody gets riled up. You know what I mean? I mean,
well, and then other people just like it when there is somebody who will get riled up for them.
yeah.
So, I mean, that was part of my reasoning for going in the military. Stand up for people who couldn't. So.
Well, mine was to go in because I needed some damn.
You want to play with pretty toys? Tell the truth.
Well, no. The truth was I had to withdraw from college, and I needed a new skill. Had a baby on the way.
Yeah, baby.
But when I went in, yeah, I did want to play with some cool toys. I did turn around and sign up for everything I could sign up for. I did have it all in my contract. I did want to be a badass.
Nothing wrong with that.
I was just too badass and too hard-headed to know when to back out of some things, and I worked myself into a medical discharge.
Granddaddy always said, "That hard head makes for a soft butt."
It's like they said at the 82nd, man. They always said, if you're gonna fuck up, do it at airborne speed. So that's right. What I did. That's what I did, man. Proud paratrooper with a screwed up back, bad knee.
Well, even Dad told us growing up, boy, I don't care what you do now, as long as you do it well, do it to the best of your ability. And then one day he asked me, I guess I was about 25. He said, "Boy, you about tired of going to jail?" And I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "Why do you keep?" He said, "Why you keep messing up?" And I said, "Well, Dad, you told us when we were kids, whatever we did when we grew up, do it well, do it to the best of your ability." And he said, "Well, how does that apply to this?" I said, "I haven't been caught for a felony." So I must have done it well. No, I didn't do it well. Don't let anybody believe I did it well. The art of going to jail is no art at all.
It's quite easy, actually.
Hey, much easier then than it is now.
I don't know. I'd beg to differ.
Well, it depends on your crime. Now, if you get a speeding ticket, you're probably gonna get thrown under the jail. Now, if you
it depends on your defender. Public defender.
Your public pretender. There's no defense there. But yeah, what we were talking about earlier, that to me has been a very interesting concept, or a topic, I should say, not really a concept. I don't think a concept is what it could be called yet, but a lot of the people who believe the way they believe, like we were talking earlier, I don't know how to talk to them because they don't have anything with any substance in what they're saying. In order to respond to it with something that's logical, you have to have something that's logical. I mean, am I saying that right?
Kind of. Okay, I'm gonna give a refresher on what we were talking about. Okay.
Right.
All right. Our discussion a few minutes prior to coming on here was that there are some people in the world that listen to only select news, or they only use Google and take the very first 5, 6, 10, whatever articles that come up on Google, and they take that as fact. But then when you ask logical questions, they disregard your questions. They lean on the talking points of the very biased reporting that they do get in such a closed sphere of outlets. You could bring them stacks and stacks and stacks of factual data, and they will refuse to look at it. Right. And it's because, I don't understand that either, because, like I said, we were talking about before, that's because we're talking to some stupid ass fools. They refuse They are so vested in the lie. And I think it's also a level of arrogance. How can I be fooled to believe a lie? Well, the same way you're being insistent that what you're hearing is true. I'm trying to help you through your foolishness, and you don't just reject it, you grasp tighter to that lie like it's truth. You don't even want to hear anything else or look at factual data.
Yeah, and it's really a shame because, and I don't mean to say this like you and I are the only ones that know what's going on, because we're not. I mean, there are a lot of people who really know mountains of information more than we know that's factual. But what, in my case, is what I know, and what I know beyond a reasonable doubt to be absolutely irrefutable facts. Then I try to share those with other people who may or may not know those facts, because I would like for them to not be deceived. I don't want to see people in general get hurt, but just following the lie is a great way to get burnt.
Yeah.
And I mean, and like I said, I'm no genius when it comes to what's going on. I mean, I'm just now learning a lot of this stuff, and of course, scratching my head, wondering why I wasn't paying attention sooner. But that's neither here nor there. Now I have the information. I feel that it's a moral responsibility, if you will, to share that information with others, just for, if no other reason, so they don't get hurt.
Well, maybe their rationale is that if they play the game and believe what's been fed to them, then they'll be protected. It's no different than riots of 2020. People were hanging BLM signs in their damn windows of the stores.
And then the stores were getting burnt.
Yeah, in hopes that their store would be bypassed. Well, it's no different than Stalin. It's no different than Hitler. You know, and Stalin, I mean, Stalin coined the phrase "useful idiots."
No, that was Vladimir Lenin.
Okay, Lenin. And all that was he put out the propaganda that he wanted in the government or state-run media, and the townspeople repeated that crap. So they were spreading the propaganda for Lenin. So, but see, this is the thing that people today seem to not remember or don't or forgot, or I don't know, never knew. But they burned the books. You had teachers and lawyers and doctors that went along with this stuff. Once the books were burned, they came after the teachers and the doctors and the lawyers, and they were executed also. The people that are propagating the lie, they will eat their own.
To keep propagating it.
Well, and it's not just that. There's so many examples of it today. You know, people that, Martha's Vineyard, prime example. Oh, we're sanctuary city until you come here. Or, oh, we care and love everyone
unless
equally.
You come here.
Yeah. Okay. The people that are talking about securing the border are racist, xenophobic. They're all these nasty names. But the first time you send a handful to them, then I guess they also are racist and xenophobic, because, I mean, but these people will eat their own as well. How many actors and actresses and athletes have gone along with this bullshit, and then they wind up getting targeted by the radical communist Marxist bastards? Somebody will go back 10 years in their social media and destroy their career.
Yeah.
You know, but up to that time, those people were the very people destroying other people's careers and attacking people. But when it happens to them, oh, how could this happen? This is just vicious. This is horrible. No, they eat their own.
Well,
you're not safe.
Yeah, and there's a lot that goes to that. It's not just, I mean, really what you're talking, I mean, it's all happening, sure enough. But what you're talking about too is on the surface. This is just what you can look around and see is happening. But this isn't some strange phenomenon that just started last week or last year or 5 years ago. This is something that's been going on not just right under our noses, but we've been attacked with this for almost a century. All this is by design by a bunch of evil people. And I think that's what's really important. I mean, we can talk all day long about what's going on right now, but until we understand how it all started, where are its roots, and we don't pluck that root up out of the ground, it's going to stay here. It's going to keep happening. Now, one of the things that bothers me so bad is the things that really needed to be paying attention that we needed to be paying attention to. We weren't paying attention to those things because the media has got us directed somewhere else.
Yeah,
And
the sleight of hand. Pay attention to my right hand while the
yeah,
left hand takes your wallet.
hmm and that's exactly what it is. But unfortunately, there has been so much of the distraction and the intervening of nonsense that when we talk about the important thing or the thing that has caused all of our problems that we are enduring now, nobody wants to believe those things because they think it never happened because the news didn't report it.
Well, that or when people do start waking up to the powers to be, your committees of 300, your crown of Rome, the deep state, the things that these people do, people, they're in such disbelief. It's like, no, that's science fiction.
Yeah, it's
How in
hard
the
to believe.
world? Yeah, it's very hard to believe, but
Hmm.
that's just it. They hide in plain sight. Their
Hmm.
actions are open. They openly talk about it. If you go to their websites, this
Oh yeah.
they're you know it, it's it's absolutely insane, and it's so insane to the point that it is hard to believe.
Right.
But because it is, and what's the saying? Truth is stranger than fiction.
Yep.
I think that's right.
That's right.
But that is an old saying. This
Hmm.
is not something that just got spout by somebody. This
Right.
is an old saying. Truth is stranger than fiction. So
Hmm.
when you hear something that is so shocking, do a little research. Try to disprove it. You might
Yeah,
find yourself in a damn rabbit hole that you can't get out of because you're
because you're gonna
finding
find a
out.
whole bunch more.
Yeah. And then you're like, what?
Yeah, and see, that's kind of what I've been dealing with since I started reading this book because we've always heard when we were kids, if you tell one lie, you're gonna have to tell 100 more to keep it covered up, right?
Yep.
And that's how I mean, honestly, that's how I learned to get away with a lot of stuff that I did by somebody telling me if you tell one lie, you gotta tell several more lies to cover it up. But if you go tell those lies have to be diversions to keep you from going back and checking the original lie, right?
Yeah.
So what you were just saying, if you find something that is so shocking, it's unbelievable. Let's take this for instance. 911 did not come down with airplanes, and if it shocks you too bad to believe that those were controlled demolitions by our own government, then go look it up because what you're going to uncover is all these thousands of lies that were told to mask one lie. You're
Yeah.
going to find out there was nothing about the Middle East involved with those airplanes. Oh, wait, what airplanes? Now, listen, back in the 1990s, you couldn't use a cell phone on an aircraft once it took off, period.
Nah. Nah.
So, anybody who heard those phone conversations from the aircraft about some people from the Middle East and box cutters, and does anybody realize that the NTSB has armed people on those aircraft to prevent such acts as those?
Yeah, there have been air marshals since way before the TSA.
So, and you can't identify them. So what did they do? Tie this guy up and put him in the cargo hold? I'm sorry. It's just those lies are too unbelievable for me to accept. Not only did I not accept them, I wanted to know what happened to those buildings. But when I watched the news, and I was at work when it happened, so I didn't get to see it until the news came on that evening when I got home. And that was the very first thing I noticed was controlled demolitions.
Oh yeah.
And having been in the military, in the aviation field, I know a little bit about the fuels that they use. And
Yeah, it was
there's
all
no
wrong.
way.
None of it made sense to me. None of it made sense to me.
Exactly. And, you know, and I hate to say it like this, but for those who believe that airplanes took those buildings down and don't want to go look at the facts, well, then you're exactly what the Bible calls a fool. And,
Yeah.
you know, I'm just going to say this, and I told you earlier about anybody who believes a lie is just as big an idiot as the one who told it. And
Yep.
so,
Well, see,
but,
this is another thing that people need to understand too, and it goes along with this. Is, you know, I've said forever,
Mhm.
and look, I call myself a patriot. Look, I love my country.
Mhm.
People need to identify really what America is. America is an idea,
Mhm.
and I
Well, the American
love.
dream. Yeah, the American dream is
Yeah,
an idea.
well, America in itself is an idea. It was
Mhm.
written down on some parchment,
Mhm.
and it became the greatest experiment in the world. And
And it
I
still
hold,
is.
yeah, I hold that idea dear to my heart. I love my country.
Mhm.
I do not like my government.
That's right.
Now, people need to be able to distinguish the difference. A
Right.
true patriot is not sitting there lapping up everything that the government feeds them. A true patriot needs to understand that the government is made up by people. People
Right.
are corrupted with power, and
Mhm.
nefarious actions are being done by the government. I mean,
Against the people that it's
all
supposed to represent.
all the time. Laws are meant for one thing, and that is
Mhm.
to convict.
That's
Now,
right.
you could take the 10 Commandments, and if man abided by the 10 Commandments, we would have a wonderful nation. Now,
Mhm.
why in the world do we need law libraries filled for how many stories
Right.
about how many laws?
Mhm.
None of those laws do anything more than what the 10 Commandments say.
Mhm.
All they do is they macromanage your life. And
Right.
if anybody in law enforcement wanted to, they could walk up to any random person and they could find a law that that person broke.
Sure, they could.
So that's people need to understand laws are made to convict. They're made and put into place by people, people who are empowered by the people to hold government offices. These
Mhm.
people are corrupt and nefarious and intentionally nefarious.
Sure, they are. And look, this isn't something, like I said before, this isn't something that just happened last week or last year. And granted, this country is now, I think we're rolling up on 248 years of existence and as a country. But really, these things that we're looking at now, they've been trying to weasel their way in ever since the founding of this country. So this is not new. And if you go back to I believe it was Thomas Jefferson's presidency. I believe it was his Secretary of State that wanted to bring in the central bank, and that wasn't happening. And this was during Jefferson's first term. And at that time, the president and the vice president ran together, or they ran separately. And Thomas Jefferson was one party, his vice president was another party. And because they butted heads so badly on the idea of bringing the central bank into the United States, Thomas Jefferson didn't want him running for vice president again. They ultimately parted ways. And you know, the idea in the Constitution for government to begin with, it was supposed to be small. The government was never supposed to be large. You know, when the
Oh,
government has guns, the people are in fear. When the people have guns, you have a good
yep.
government.
Not
And
just supposed to be small. It was supposed to be small and restrained.
very restrained. Well, the federal government, especially because the federal government has three responsibilities, and that's it. And it has nothing to do with each individual state, except that the laws that they have for the federal government to enforce, it protects all 50 states. And
Correct.
and I think if people look at this, even I can go from Mississippi to Florida to, I was going to say New York, but I don't even want to go to New York. But I could go to any other state in the union anytime I want to. I don't have to pay taxes to go to a different state. I don't have to have a passport. I can freely travel anywhere in the 50 United States. If you go to other countries, that's not possible. You may be in the
Not
same country, but you can't go from, I mean, you may be in a country that's like, let's say the European Union is a conglomerate of a bunch of European countries,
okay. You go from
but
Switzerland to France, you better show a
better,
passport.
you
You
got to
show
have a
from
passport.
France to Italy, you got to have a passport. You got to, yeah.
And look, that comes with other that comes with other downsides too. I mean, you can go from one country to the other, but let's say, you know, you're restricted by what you can buy in another country or bring back to your country, or vice
Yeah.
versa. In this country, I can go buy moonshine in Kentucky and bring it back to Mississippi. You know?
Oh, however, you cannot, okay, now hold on a second. I don't think you can, like me as a truck driver, I
No,
don't
you
think I
can't
could
transport.
drive, I don't think I could drive into Florida with a banana on my dashboard. You got all those dang, no, you got, what is it called? Agricultural checkpoints. And you can't take fruit into Texas.
That's a new one on me. That
Yeah, you
sounds
can't.
like government overreach.
No, you can't take certain fruits. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it has to do with the natural environment, like the natural species and stuff. But you weren't supposed to be able to release your pet snakes in Florida either. And look at Florida now has an incredible snake population.
Yeah, especially since Nancy Pelosi moved there.
Yeah, but now it's called the Florida python. It's native there now.
Really?
Hmm?
I heard
Yeah,
something about that the other day. I don't know. But you know it's illegal to bury somebody in a cemetery they live across the street from, don't you?
yeah, that's right. You go to prison for murder. That's right.
Wait, just say I got 13 seconds left. Who they talking to? I'm supposed to have regular all time record. Man, they got me messed up. I don't know what they're thinking. But now the idea of talking to people though, I mean, like we're doing now, and we're really not talking to people or at people. We're just talking. But there are a lot of people out there that will believe simply what they see on the news, and it's sad to say, man, but we don't even we should not trust the news anymore. Period, because when the media was started, it was started as as a means to keep the government in check,
Correct.
and now
Well,
they
that was the importance of the First Amendment. That
exactly.
was that's why it's listed first.
Mhm.
Freedom of
Freedom of
speech isn't just the freedom to
Actually,
protest.
the first thing is the freedom of religion, and the First Amendment is the first thing listed, and there is a reason why it is top of the list.
Right.
And
But it's not just freedom of religion or freedom to
no,
assemble for regress of,
regressive
you know,
grievances, freedom of
grievances.
speech.
And it's
But
not just, so much of the First Amendment is for the free press to keep the government in check and to inform the society or the public what is going on with the government.
that's correct.
And that's one of the fundamental foundations of our Constitution.
Yeah.
And I mean, or
And
I'm
look, one
sorry,
of
it
the
was
most corrupted mediums now, believe it or not, was founded by one of the founding fathers who, by the way, was one of the authors of the Constitution.
well,
Alexander Hamilton founded
that's
the New
right.
York Post,
That's
and that
correct.
is
It's the
one of the
oldest.
most corrupt. Yeah,
Actually, the New York Post isn't.
the New York Times is.
Yeah, the New York Times
That's
is.
right.
The New York Post is the one that broke the Hunter Biden laptop story, and they
That's
turned
right.
around and they squashed it. And then Twitter actually kicked the New York Post off of Twitter. And yeah, but the New York Post, yeah, that's the oldest print publication in the country.
Yep.
But
And it was founded by our first Secretary of Treasury.
and I said a while ago, one of the foundations of our Constitution, but it's the First Amendment, not Constitution. It's an amendment. But anyway, yeah, and once the press does not do its served purpose, its stated purpose, then it needs to be ignored completely, to be honest with you, because right
not
now,
just ignored, it
especially,
needs to be shut down. And well,
I mean, it's fine to hear it to get the main topic about what are they lying to me about, then to go do your own research. But
yeah.
the thing about it is there's so much more accurate information being put out on independent journalists, basically podcasts. I mean, you can find more factual data on podcasts from independent journalists than you're ever going to get from any news media outlet. I don't care if it's print or if it's broadcasted.
And look, it's not all journalists either. Really, there are quite a few journalists who are podcasting. That is true. But a lot of the podcasts, even the ones that you have sent my way, these people are not journalists, but these people were or are in the know, if you know what I mean. These people had firsthand knowledge, a front row seat to all the backdoor crap that's been going on.
Yep.
And
or they have personal experience and knowledge of certain specific areas.
That's exactly right. And that's really what I have come to appreciate a lot more than just the news, because these people are not bound by media contracts or whatever. I don't know if you remember, but one of the bands that I played in here after I moved back from Texas was a Christian band. And the what?
I just got green lighted at this scale house.
Hey, good job.
Yeah, really good job. Because
I mean, you didn't have a banana on your dashboard, or?
Oh no, well, my tail lights got that short in them. I'm just hoping nobody's sitting in the scale house looking at my tail lights.
I hope DOT's not listening to this podcast.
Or FBI, you never know. I'm a radical.
You're a radical veteran.
Yeah, I'm an ultra mega radical veteran. That makes me the worst kind. In control of 80,000 pounds.
Now, see, I don't forget what I was saying. Oh my!
Hey, this would be considered a weapon of mass destruction, man.
It's what?
This that I'm controlling right now would be considered a weapon of mass destruction.
Goodness gracious. Wow.
Just for the audience, I have to say, I know that they don't really know me, but surely I jest. I joke a lot, so
well,
y'all will figure that out as you get to hear me talk and what I say and stuff.
And yeah, well, we both do. I tell people around me, especially my girlfriend, I tell her you got to pay attention, because sometimes I'll say things deliberately that actually have 2, maybe 3 meanings, just depending on what you hear when you hear it.
Yeah.
And you really have to pay attention, because I can either make you laugh or I can really piss you off, one or the other.
Yeah, and that's another thing people get to understand about me is my tone is always this. I don't care if I'm on a podcast. I don't care if I'm talking to my wife. I don't care if I'm talking to somebody in the shipping office.
Or in a grocery store.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I might sound a little more hostile when I'm at the VA though. So
Yeah. And for those who don't know, the Jackson, Mississippi VA gives 30% of American veterans a second chance to die for their country. Please enjoy your visit. All right, everybody, that concludes today's episode. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, by all means, tell your friends and family. And look, don't forget to drop us a line in that comments box. We'd really like to hear from you. And don't forget, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and most importantly, Truth Social. But on behalf of Patrick and myself, we are the Constitution Commandos signing off.